Tuscaloosa to frenzy. We talked about Alabama reaches the college cup for the first time.
Heisman Memorial Trophy.
The first soccer championship in school history.
Is still Alabama.
Roll Tide and welcome to the Crimson Tide Production Studio inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. I'm Roger Hoover, joined by Delaney Jones, and welcome to another episode of Tide TV this week. Delaney, welcome back to the desk. Roll Tide.
Thank you, Roger. Love being back at the desk. We got a lot of things to talk about in this show, but first, Roger, we have to talk about the atmosphere in Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday night. It was prime time under the lights, and the stadium was rocking, Roger.
Yeah, literally, the press box shook at times. It was loud all night, and what a performance by the Alabama defense against the nation's #1 offense. Top offense in the country did start the game off with a great touchdown pass from Jaden Daniels to Malik Neighbors, but Jalen Milroe and the Crimson Tide offense answered right back, closing out the opening quarter with 2 touchdown rushes, 23-yard run tied it at 7, and then a 4-yard touchdown run by Jalen Milroe gave the Crimson Tide the lead 14-7.
The Tigers tied the game at 14 with just over 3 minutes to go before the half, but then Milroe recorded his 3rd rushing touchdown of the game from 21 yards out with just over a minute to go. But 2 big runs by Jaden Daniels set up this 26-yard pass to Kyron Lacey with just 5 seconds remaining to make it a 21-all ball game at the half.
From there, LSU scored their only touchdown of the second half on the first drive of the third quarter as they took a 28-21 lead. However, from there, it was all Alabama. Roydell Williams tied it up on this run from 16 yards out to make it 28-all. After an LSU punt, Jalen Milroe was able to break an Alabama school record as he tallied his 4th rushing touchdown of the game. This 11-yard run gave the good guys the lead back at 35-28.
And then on the first play of the 4th quarter, Dallas Turner timed it just right as he tipped the Jaden Daniels pass into the arms of Terrion Arnold, a big turnover in the game as the Tide marched right down the field again. Alabama's 6th rushing touchdown gave the Crimson Tide control the game at 42-28.
From there, the Tide shut out the Tigers as Alabama rolled to the 42-28 win for their 11th victory in their last 13 matchups against LSU.
You know, our offense controlled the tempo of the game, especially in the second half, and I think that was the difference in the game, having over 500 yards of offense, but the key to it was being 11 of 14 on 3rd down and being able to keep the ball, which kept it away from them, which was a real key. But this is probably as close to a complete game, even though, you know, you can say, wow, they had some really good plays. Yeah, they did. They got some really good players. But our guys fought. They competed. I'm really proud of them. Probably as close to a complete game as we played, you know, all year, and we needed to play a game like that. But the whole idea going into the game was just keep playing the next play, just focus on the next play, be in the moment, and I thought they did a wonderful job of that.
And with that record-breaking performance, Jalen Milroe earned SEC Offensive Co-Player of the Week honors. Milroe totaled 374 yards of total offense, 219 passing, and 155 yards on the ground to go along with 4 touchdowns. Milroe also set the record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a single game in Tide history.
And that wasn't the only honor he received this week, Roger. Jalen Milroe also earned multiple national honors. Milroe receiving the Manning Award Star of the Week, the Davey O'Brien Grade 8, the Maxwell Player of the Week, and the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award Player of the Week.
Along with Milroe, Coach Saban received some national recognition this week. Coach Saban was named the Dodd Trophy Coach of the Week award winner.
And Roger, it's going to be back to early kickoffs for the Crimson Tide. This week's matchup against Kentucky is at 11 in Lexington, an early start, and next week's matchup at Chattanooga will also be an 11 a.m. kickoff. If you're not there in Bryant-Denny, you'll only be able to watch it streaming on SEC Network Plus and the ESPN app.
Along with it being senior day next week for the Tide against the Mocs, it will also be the final home game of the season for the Crimson Tide.
Turning our attention to the NFL, Roger, let's check out our Crimson Tide and the NFL Players of the Week.
Delaney, we go with a very familiar one this week as Jalen Hurts helped the Philadelphia Eagles maintain the best record in the NFL. Hurts completed 17 of 23 passes for 207 yards with 2 touchdowns, while also adding another 36 and a touchdown on the ground, as the Eagles improved to 8-1 with the 28-23 win over the Dallas Cowboys.
Josh Jacobs had 98 yards rushing to go along with 2 touchdowns to lead the Raiders to a 30-6 win over the New York Giants.
Next we go with a couple of Browns. Amari Cooper totaled 139 receiving yards, catching all 5 of his targets with a touchdown.
And defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson finished with 2.5 sacks, including 2 tackles for a loss and 3 quarterback hurries as he led the Browns defense to a shutout of the Arizona Cardinals, winning 27-0.
Stay with us. When we return, we'll go all access for the Crimson Tide's 42-28 win over the LSU Tigers in Bryant-Denny on Saturday.
Tide TV This Week is presented by the University of Alabama, where legends are made. Ford, visit your local Ford dealer, proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
What a scene at Coleman Coliseum.
Whoever shows up needs to be as loud as they can possibly be.
It is just as loud here at Coleman Coliseum tonight.
But Alabama able to battle and fight and dig down and show toughness and grit.
I thought that crowd was unbelievable.
I'm telling you, this place is rocking right now.
Alabama fans at Coleman Coliseum have been so good all year long. These fans deserve it.
Christy Curry is pretty pumped up about her crew, too.
How good can the Crimson Tide be again?
You know, I think this group really bonds well together. They have great chemistry. I think you can always be the most passionate and the hardest worker in the room, and I will fight for those kids.
McQueen right down Main Street, and she'll get the foul.
Oh, what a three! A nice step through.
From behind, Gianna Cunningham.
Oh, yes!
And then we add new faces, so this team is going to be fun to watch. And we've been working in Tuscaloosa, so we're excited for the season.
Bring it on. We are here for it.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. It was a top 15 matchup in Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday night as the 8th-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide took on the 13th-ranked LSU Tigers.
Alabama picked up their 11th win in the last 13 meetings against LSU with the 42-28 victory. Now let's take an all-access look at the Tide's big win over the Tigers.
Seems like the West always goes through either Baton Rouge or Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. That's where we are tonight.
How do you come together as a team? How do you perform at your peak performance? Because you're going to need that for 4 quarters.
But it seems like Alabama has finally made the conscious decision that this is who we need to be for us to blossom.
You can just get that feel when these two teams get together. And here we go. Daniels loads, going deep, man out, there's Neighbors, he's got it. Touchdown, LSU.
Milroe keeps it. He'll go down the left side. He gets the perimeter and he takes it in for a touchdown.
Crowd will be more enthused. They're feeling they're part of the game.
Knocked away. Beautifully done by Malachi Moore.
Jalen Milroe back in for the touchdown. Put it in reverse and score.
Boy, he wasted no time on that play, Milroe did. Quarterback runs up. Quarterback wishes he hadn't done that. He is just drilled by Justin Eboigbe.
Straight up the middle and now cutting to the end zone. Touchdown, LSU. Going to throw to Jan Miller on a little wheel route. Miller inside the 40 and down to the 33-yard line.
He's got running room. He turns it upfield. He turns on the afterburners and he scores. 21 yards, Jalen Milroe.
And a touchdown, Kyron Lacey. And the West crown could be at stake in this one. End of the half, score 21-21. Both Both quarterbacks, we expected a lot out of them. We got a lot out of them. They're both leading their teams in rushing. They've been sensational. Josh Williams will walk in. Touchdown, Tigers. And Roydell Williams will score. Touchdown, Alabama.
Now we're tied again. Tight end Mason Taylor gets tied up by the Crimson Tide. Caleb Downs.
We're going to have to see a punt. Milrose throw. There's Jermaine Burton for the first time. Reverses field and gets about 13 and a first down.
Here's the Milrose throw. Nice grab, near side. Beautiful move after the catch by Isaiah Bond.
And it's Jalen Milroe. Pump fakes. Jalen Milroe. Touchdown, Alabama. Again. 4 for number 4.
We got you. Let's go. Let's go. It's tipped in the air, and it's going to be Alabama with the interception. Alabama with the interception. Great job by Terrian Arnold. Big hole up the middle. McClellan breaks a tackle. He's in for the touchdown.
Jalen Milroe has that $1 million smile.
He does, doesn't he? How about them apples, folks?
So Alabama gets a little payback from last year in Baton Rouge.
Get them boys out of here, man. There's another one there. Thank you for the fans, man.
Legacies rise from purpose. They're developed through passion, determination, and the power to follow through. This is where ambition meets opportunity. What happens next is up to you. The University of Alabama, where legends are made.
Welcome back to Tide TV this week. After being at home for the past month, the Crimson Tide football team hits the road this week to take on the Kentucky Wildcats.
It will just be the 42nd matchup between the Tide and the Wildcats, and also the first since 2020. For a preview of this weekend's matchup, our Christopher England joins us now. Christopher?
The 8th-ranked Crimson Tide will take on the Kentucky Wildcats this week in Lexington. Saturday's matchup will be the 42nd meeting between the two schools, but Kentucky has defeated the Tide only twice, both times in Lexington. The first time way back in 1922, and the last was back in 1997, a 40-34 overtime win.
Alabama leads the all-time series 38-2 with one tie. The last time the two teams met was back in 2020 in Tuscaloosa. Alabama thoroughly dominated Kentucky 63-3 as the Tide rolled to their 18th national championship with a 52-24 win over Ohio State. The Wildcats entered the matchup with the Tide 6-3 and 3-3 in conference play. Kentucky started the season 5-0 and was ranked as high as 20th after a 33-14 win over number 22 Florida in Lexington. After that win over the Gators, the Wildcats lost 3 in a row to the top 3 teams in the SEC East, Georgia, Missouri, and Tennessee, but got back in the win column last week with a 24-3 win over Mississippi State in Starkville. The Wildcats have a new quarterback this season in senior Devin Leary. After playing 4 years at North Carolina State, Leary joined the Wildcats this season and is starting to play some of his best football of the year. In Leary's last 2 games against Tennessee and Mississippi State, he completed 41 of 61, averaging 264 yards per game with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. The Wildcats also have a dangerous rushing attack as they have the highest rushing total in a single game this season. Kentucky rushed for 329 yards in that win over the Florida Gators. Leading that rushing attack is the second leading rusher in the SEC. Ray Davis averages just over 100 yards per game with 9 rushing touchdowns on the year. Davis also has the highest single-game rushing total in the SEC this season, as he totaled 280 yards in that 33-14 win over Florida. The strength of the Wildcats' defense has been stopping the run. Kentucky allows just 110 yards per game. That's 9 yards better than the Crimson Tide. Kentucky is also 6th in the SEC in scoring defense, allowing just 5 more points per game than the Crimson Tide at 22 points per game. Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe will have to be on the lookout for defensive back Maxwell Hairston. Hairston leads the SEC and is second in the nation with 5 interceptions, and also leads the conference with 2 interceptions returned for touchdown. In the past, the Crimson Tide led the nation in defensive touchdowns, but it's the Wildcats that lead the nation this year. Kentucky is tied for first in all of college football with 4 defensive touchdowns, 3 of those being interceptions returned for touchdown with 1 fumble return.
With a win over the Wildcats or an Ole Miss loss to the Georgia Bulldogs, Alabama will win the SEC Western Division title and earn a berth in the SEC Championship game in Atlanta. Stay with us. We'll have more Tide TV this week coming up next.
What a scene at Coleman Coliseum.
Whoever shows up needs to be as loud as they can possibly be.
It is just as loud here at Coleman Coliseum tonight.
But Alabama able to battle and fight and dig down and show toughness and grit.
I thought the crowd was unbelievable.
I'm telling you, this place is rocking right now.
Alabama fans at Coleman Coliseum have been so good all year long. These fans deserve it.
Welcome back to the Crimson Tide production studio inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. He's Roger Hoover, I'm Delaney Jones, and this is Tide TV This Week.
Delaney, we've already covered the gridiron. Now let's take it over to the hardwood with the Alabama men's and women's basketball teams. The Tide tipped off the season this past Monday with a doubleheader.
The women hosted Alabama State while the men took on Morehead State.
The Tide came out hot, knocking down their first 7 shots to take a 17-5 lead over the Eagles. In that first half, 6 different Alabama players knocked down 8 3-pointers. Aaron Estrada led the team with 14 first-half points to take a 20-point lead at halftime, 55-35.
Grant Nelson scored 13 of his game-high 24 points in the second half, and 2 of those came on this throwdown dunk by Nelson. What a dunk by the North Dakota State transfer. Nelson and the Tide rolled in their season opener 105-73, and it's the first time the Tide has scored 100 points or more in a season opener since 2001, Roger. In his first regular season game for the Crimson Tide, Nelson had game highs in both points and rebound scoring, 24 with 7 boards.
Aaron Estrada also finished with 16 points, Mark Sears added 13, and Jaron Stevenson had 12.
Christy Curry and the Alabama women's basketball team also tipped off on their season opener on Monday in Coleman Coliseum. Alabama started red hot, jumping out to a 16-0 lead to lead 28-10 after 1. The Crimson Tide defense held the Hornets to just 6 points in the second period as Bama led 45-16 at the half.
It was more of the same in the final 20 minutes of play as the Alabama defense forced 32 turnovers as the Tide routed the Hornets in the season opener 93-39. Sarah Ashley Barker led all scorers with a career-high 23 points while also grabbing a game-high 8 rebounds. Jessica Timmons also scored a career-high 18 points, and Essence Cody had 11 in her first collegiate game.
And with that win, Roger, the Crimson Tide are now 10-1 in season openers under head coach Christy Curry.
The Alabama volleyball team was at the LSU Tigers this past Sunday. Alabama jumped out to the early advantage, winning the first set 25-18. However, LSU rallied, winning the next 3 sets for the win.
Aaliyah Wells led the team with 13 kills and her team-leading 6 blocks, which was just 1 shy of her season best. Callie Kiefer finished with 29 assists and 12 digs, earning her 7th double-double of the season and her 4th in SEC play.
The Alabama men's and women's swimming and diving teams hit the road for the first time this season as the Crimson Tide took on Florida State and LSU in Tallahassee.
And it was the first meeting between the Tide and the Seminoles since the 2019-2020 season. The
20th ranked women's team won 10 events as they defeated Florida State 183-117 and then dominated LSU 219-81.
The 19th ranked men captured 9 event wins as the Tide outscored the LSU Tigers 152-148, but then took a narrow defeat at the hands of the 24th ranked Seminoles 151-149. And the Alabama soccer team is heading back to the NCAA tournament for the 2nd consecutive year the Tide will host.
Crimson Tide are in the number 6 seed and will host Southern Conference champion Western Carolina on Friday at 5 p.m. With a win, the Tide will face the winner of number 3 seed North Carolina and Towson.
A big weekend here in Tuscaloosa with soccer, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and men's tennis. It's going to be a busy week at the Capstone, and it's also going to be a busy week in this office, Roger.
It really will be. Don't forget as well, track and field competing at the NCAA South Regional Championships in Gainesville, along with that Crimson Tide football team taking on Kentucky and Lexington on Saturday. We're going to have a lot to talk about on next week's show.
And we still have a lot to talk about on this week's show, including our plays and players of the week. We'll have those right here coming up next on Tide TV This Week.
Tide TV This Week is presented by the University of Alabama, where legends are made. Ford, visit your local Ford dealer, proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
Christy Curry is pretty pumped up about her crew, too.
How good can the Crimson Tide be again?
You know, I think this group really bonds well together. They have great chemistry. I think you can always be the most passionate and the hardest worker in the room, and I will fight for those kids.
McQueen right down Main Street, and she'll get the foul.
Oh, what a three! A nice step through.
Gianna Cunningham. Oh, yes!
And then we add new faces, so this team is going to be fun to watch. And we've been working in Tuscaloosa, so we're excited for the season.
Bring it on.
We are here for it.
Steal, Sarah Ashley Barker. He takes it in for a touchdown. 23 yards, 21 yards. Jalen Milroe, that's the hat trick.
And it's Jalen Milroe, pump fakes. Jalen Milroe, touchdown Alabama again. 4 for number 4.
Roydell, handoff, big hole. He's in. Touchdown Alabama. Here's Daniels with a throw. It's tipped in the air, and it's going to be Alabama with the interception. Great job by Terry and Arnold. Low snap. Daniels rolls right and throws. Knocked away. Beautifully done by Malachi Moore.
Those were our Legacy of Hope plays of the week. Now let's take a look at our players of the week. What a game by Jalen Milroe. Milroe broke the Alabama single-game rushing touchdown record for a quarterback with 4. Milroe totaled 374 total yards of offense, 210 through the air, and 155 on the ground.
And in his first regular season game for the Crimson Tide, Grant Nelson led all scorers with 24 points and had a game-high 7 rebounds. Nelson knocked down 7 of 12 from the floor and 2 of 4 from beyond the arc and was perfect 8 for 8 from the free throw line.
And for the women's basketball team, Sarah Ashley Barker had a career-high 23 points while also picking up a game-high 8 rebounds. Barker shot 70% from the floor, knocking down 7 of 10 from the field while also connecting on 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. Barker also knocked down 7 of 9 from the free throw line while also adding 3 steals, and she did all of that in just 19 minutes of play. So congratulations to all of our players of the week, and like you mentioned, a special week's coming up this weekend here in Tuscaloosa.
Yep, going to be a busy week, crossover season. Super excited for basketball.
It's all happening, and we hope everyone has a great week, and we also hope to see you back here next week for another edition of Tide TV This Week. Roll Tide, Delaney.
Roll Tide, Roger.
This has been a presentation from Learfield,